Did you do something to your children? Listen, just tell people what's happening. There's people around the country praying for your children.
Psychologically, she's gone. Something's happened to her.
That's great.
Lori Vallow, Lori Daybell, Lori Ryan. I don't think she deserves to use the Vallow name, and I don't think she deserves to take Tammy Daybell's identity, such that it was. I'll be referring to her as Lori Cox throughout this brief video. The world watched stunned in late 2019 as Nate Eaton of East Idaho News followed Lori Cox and Chad Daybell, trying to get what would seemingly be an easy answer. Where are Lori's children, Tylee Ryan and JJ Vallow? I remember watching this footage live back in 2019 and screaming at my screen, "Where are your kids?" No one could understand her callousness, just her flippant attitude to Nate, who's just asking basic questions, wanting to know where are your kids. Anyone who's been following this case since then knows that this is probably one of the most complicated cases out there right now, and I figure if I do one little piece, it'll be easier that way. So this round, I'm just looking at Lori.
What do you guys plan to do now? You have 5 days to get your children in front of a judge in Rexburg, then what?
So this is just gonna be me documenting my opinion on a bit about Lori Vallow's early life and her status as incompetent to stand trial. Lori Cox was born June 26, 1973 in San Bernardino, California. Reportedly, the Coxes lived in affluence, and the children all grew up rather spoiled materialistically. However, sources close to the family at the time claimed that Barry and Janice Cox were not present parents. Allegedly, Barry and Janice Cox would take frequent trips to Hawaii, leaving the children unattended. Sources close to the family claim that Janice didn't, quote, act like a mother. She made Lori lose weight and shamed her for being fat. Lori focused on this and later became a cheerleader, dropping the weight she carried around as a child. In high school, Lori was popular and well-liked by everyone. According to an anonymous source who was close with Lori growing up, Lori was also very seemingly devout, as was the whole Cox family. The source close to Lori stated,
"That takes a lot of dedication to go in high school and go before school started to seminary." She never spoke about what it meant to be a Mormon. I just know in her house, there was a giant book of the Book of Mormon in her house.
Lori was middle child of 5 siblings, including her older brother Adam, Alex, now passed away, younger sister Stacy, also passed away, and the youngest, Summer. In his newly released book, The Doomsday Mother, John Glatt describes a psychological hornet's nest as Lori's home life. He describes how immediately upon graduating high school, Lori married her high school sweetheart, Nelson. Lori's parents did not attend the wedding. Little did everyone know that this marriage would be the first in a long career of marriages, 5 to be exact. And I honestly tried to find pictures of Lori's first 2 husbands from their weddings, and I could find nothing. So if anyone's ever seen those, please let me know. But anyways, back to the psychological hornet's nest. Barry Cox, Lori's father, is an interesting character. He wrote a book entitled How the American Public Can Dismantle the IRS. Definitely not going to go into any more detail on that, but it is there. I'm fairly certain this did not go well for Barry, but you know, you can actually pick up your own copy on Amazon. You probably have to pay sales tax on it though. Barry Cox was a life insurance salesman as Lori was growing up. He actually won an award in 1974 when Lori was 1 year old for selling over $1 million in life insurance. So as I already said, the Cox family lived very comfortably and the children were basically spoiled. According to John Glatt's book, a close friend of Lori, who had spent a lot of time at the family's house growing up, stated that the Cox family was an unconventional Mormon family. Despite the big Book of Mormon that sat in the house, they did not go to church often, and objectively, they were not present with their children as they were growing up. As alluded to before, the Cox family also did not believe in taxes. The parents would fight the IRS for decades over back taxes, owing. Only other thing I will say about Lori's early life is that during this time, she did develop her relationship with her brother Alex as a protector sort of role, almost like an errand boy in the future. There is a comment made by an anonymous source in the book written by John Glatt that made an insinuation that there was more than just a sibling type relationship between Alex and Lori, but I'll just leave it there, and if you want to read the book again, I highly recommend you do that. So, Lori's first husband, Nelson Yanes, I already mentioned, was their high school sweetheart. I don't know very much other than it was a short marriage. He was not a Mormon. Her parents did not approve and had asked her to stay home an extra year, but she ignored their advice and went off and married him right out of high school. In John Glatt's book, Lori's friend states that Lori told her that Nelson was violent and beat her. No children were born to the couple, and Lori left Nelson and headed off to beauty school. Lori's second husband, William, I'm going to say L so that I don't butcher his name, they were married for just under 3 years, and in 1986 he became the father of Lori's first and oldest son, Colby Ryan. I found the resemblance between father and son very, very uncanny. The next part of what I say will be my opinion and just my wondering, really. I wonder if what Lori claimed William L. did was what prompted Colby to never have a relationship with his dad. I say this based on knowledge of future events that took place long after Colby was born and Lori divorced William L. because she lies so much. Is it possible that Colby's dad wasn't as bad as Lori claimed? Is it possible that maybe he just wasn't as motivated as other parents might be to foster a relationship after a divorce? But maybe he wasn't the assaulting, evil, wife-beating things that Lori claimed here. My favorite part is where it says, "alone and on my own," which is obviously the same thing. As you will soon hear, we have knowledge that Lori is not above lying to her own child to manipulate a situation to her advantage. So I wonder, was Colby given the truth? Lori has this magical way of always painting herself as the victim, a martyr. Husband number 3 was Joseph Ryan. In 2001, Joseph married Lori and adopted Colby. Shortly thereafter, Tylee, Lori's second child, was born. Later, Lori and Joseph would go through a very, very messy divorce and custody battle over Tylee. I will say I have a heart for this man. He went above and beyond the bounds what most fathers or any parent would do to make sure that they have a relationship with their child. He was up against Lori's whole family trying to lock him out of his daughter's life. Some of the worst accusations any parent can be accused of: sexual molestation of both Tylee and Colby. On my soapbox now, I do not believe the accusations of sexual molestation of either of the children. I do believe Joseph Ryan might have had a heavy hand and he might have spanked the kids, but I do not believe, after all my research and everything I've learned about this case and these people, that there was any sexual molestation going on at all. I base my opinion here on testimony from Joseph Ryan's lawyer that I'm gonna play now regarding Tylee.
And Tylee kept, saying the same thing until one day Tylee recanted.
And this is a 4-year-old Tylee, probably. This is a very young girl.
And I'm telling you that Tylee, at the time she made this outcry, she may have been younger. I mean, I was totally amazed how somebody could believe an outcry from a child that young. But be what it is, you can beat the rat, but you can't beat the ride. And so he had to follow the ride. So in the meantime, they went and denied him access to Tylee, except for through this counselor. So his ability to see Tylee became less and less and less, all with the, what's her name? Lori condoned all this activity. In fact, she encouraged it.
Lori's accusations got so out of hand that while exercising an access visit with Tylee one day, Alex met Joseph Ryan and assaulted him with a taser gun. The following is a short clip of Alex doing his stand-up comedy routine on this crime. It's hard to tell the way that he speaks whether he believes Joe Ryan was assaulting his niece and nephew or not. It's hard to tell.
I was fortunate enough to do a little jail time last year. I'll confess to you guys. You ever had something that you knew was the right thing to do, but it turns out that later on it was a felony? This is a true story. I found out that my ex-brother-in-law was a pedophile, so I took a stun gun and I discharged it right in his nutsack. And I did. And in Texas, that's a felony. I'm thinking, maybe I'll get a handshake or a parade or something. I got probation.
Another source for my opinion that I don't really know if this abuse happened for sure is a tip that Alex Cox's ex-wife gave to police.
And he did tell me he was still really, really mad at Joseph Ryan because of things with his sister Lori.
Okay.
Custody issues. And he had told me that Joseph Ryan had possibly sexually abused the kids, Colby, as well as Tylee. But when I would ask Alex a lot of questions about it and try to dig deeper, then it would turn into, well, we're just trying to get custody, and he would flip-flop around quite a bit on whether or not that abuse had actually taken place, whether they had any proof it had taken place, or if they were just playing games to try to help his sister get custody.
To each individual to decide what they believe, but I think Lori coached the children.
I had been married to someone who was very awful, who raped my children. And I had divorced him and gotten away from him. And he had joined the church. He spoke in state conference. Everyone thought he was wonderful. He was very good showman of all those things. And after we were divorced, he told everybody that I was this lying, crazy Mormon, and got up in court and said all these horrible things about me, and turned it around to where the judges believed him instead of me. and he was constantly trying to get custody of my 3-year-old daughter, and just to rub it in my face. And I went through a lot of years of this kind of hard stuff. And
the final straw for Joseph Ryan was Lori taking Tylee and Colby and leaving the mainland for Hawaii. This was way out of Joseph's reach, and although he and his lawyer petitioned the court to force Lori to move back to Arizona, she refused, and Joseph was out of money. In his final days, Joseph was said to have turned to alcohol. He was found in his apartment 3 weeks after having died in the states of decomposition. His death was ruled natural, but I believe that there is a lot more to this particular story. Charles Vallow was Lori's husband number 4. He was a handsome, professional financial planner who had previously been drafted in minor league baseball. Charles met Lori by chance when getting his hair cut at the beauty salon she worked at. Before long, the couple was engaged and Lori was heading off into wedding number 4, at which point she would adopt the name Vallow, the name that the public knows her so well by today, Lori Vallow.